My name is Mary Lou Bennett. I was born in Jefferson City, Missouri, which I think is a little part of St. Louis, Missouri, on November 7th, 1933. It's just me. I do not have any siblings.
How does that feel?
I don't know. It's the only thing I know. It was very interesting to have two children and hear them squabble or be friends or whatever it was, because I didn't know that. It was just one of me. I had a cousin we lived near each other, and so she was kind of my irritating younger sister in a sense, because she always wanted to do whatever it was I did, which now I think might be flattering, but as a child I didn't think so. I have two children, two daughters, a daughter Kate, who lives here in State College. She and her husband moved here from Austin after 40 years in Austin. I think they moved here partially because it's really hot in Austin, but because they thought I was getting old and needed to be cared for. That's not truly true. My other daughter lives in Syracuse, and I have I have 6 grandchildren of all of voting age, and a 4.5-year-old great-grandchild and another little baby boy on the way the end of April. Great-grandbaby. I guess the main thing that I've learned from my children and my grandchildren is love. They seem to really like me. I feel unconditional love from them. They're a good group. My grandparents went to Texas from Mississippi, and I'm sure somewhere before that in Scotland or Ireland. I'm not positive about that. My grandfather on my mother's side was a dryland farmer in Texas, in the Texas Panhandle, South Plains, Texas Panhandle. I remember sitting in the living room on my mother's lap with the lights on, and it was so black outside I could barely see her. It was an amazing thing to look back on. When I was about 5, my grandfather got irrigation in his farm, which meant there was I have to talk with my hands, a big trench around all of his property with siphoning tubes. And my uncle stood me in this new wonderful thing. And I was terrified. I'd never seen so much water in my life. I'd never seen any water outside a bathtub. But anyway, that all has to do with growing up in the South Plains of Texas when their weather was, you never knew from one day to the next. My friend Virginia Carr. We've been friends since we were 7 years old, and we still are. She lives in Texas, and we talk on the phone, every couple of months. When we were in junior high, 7th grade, we went to a dance. Her mother had made us both long dresses out of checkered taffeta. Strange that I remember that. And we had walked to the dance because you could do that in Lubbock, Texas in those days. But then there was, on the way home, there were a carload of teenagers who chased after us and frightened us. We still talk about that, but fortunately there were no consequences. That's a good question. I can't think. You mean a first early on boyfriend? Or not as a little kid with a boyfriend, a little next door neighbor. We used to ride our tricycles together, but that's probably not what you had in mind. The first time that I'm really aware that had fallen in love was when I met my husband. Well, not when I met him, but when we started dating later. We went to the same high school because there was only one high school in Austin at the time. But we didn't start dating until I was a freshman and he was a sophomore at the University of Texas. The University of Texas Daily Collegian had a freshman issue, and I was the female model in the freshman issue with some male guy. And one of my husband's friends saw the newspaper and challenged him, saying, "What would it be like to date a drama major?" After we got married, we were still in undergraduate school, and then he was in the Air Force for a couple of years in Del Rio, Texas, Queen City of the Rio Grande. And that's where our daughter Kate was born. My husband was awarded a scholarship to do research for his dissertation, and we took a freighter from New Orleans down the west coast of South America and lived in Santiago, Chile. And after that, when the year was up, he received a telegram from Penn State offering him $10,500 to join the marketing department. And then about 3 days later, he received a telegram offering him $11,200 because people said they'd never get Peter Bennet for $10,500. They just didn't know how fast we were packing. But so that's how we got to Penn State. We came here. When we came here, we'd been married 11 years and had lived in 8 different cities. So we just figured, we'd keep moving every couple of years, but here we are. Oldest friend here is Mary Jean McNeil. When we moved here in 1964, we moved in across the alley from Mary Jean and Joe and their 5 little kids. And the day we moved in, she sent over spaghetti for dinner. We've been friends ever since. That's a good question. One, because my grandfather was a farmer and had windmills. I'm very fond of windmills. And one year for an anniversary present, he gave me a windmill. I mean, not one that really digs, but one you can put in the yard as an art piece. It was a really good, creative, thoughtful gift. And now a friend of my daughter's in Texas has it in their yard. I never thought about what I did with my hands, but holding a little tiny baby, they just, they're just there, waiting for you to hold them. I also like to dig in the dirt and plant flowers and make arrangements and do fun things like that. So I do that. Obviously, I do that with my hands, and that's a fun thing. On my 85th birthday, my daughter Kate planned this wonderful weekend, and everybody was there, and they took me to get flower arranging lessons from someone who'd taught it for 40 years. I don't do a lot of cooking anymore. That's a hard question. I haven't really cooked anything in a long time. If I say baked corn, then my family will laugh, because none of them like it, but my husband did, and my son-in-law does. Oh, it's a can of creamed corn and sautéed onions and red peppers and green peppers and some grated cheddar cheese on the top. It's a very old-fashioned 1950s recipe handed down from one of my aunts who was a good cook. I do not think about aging. I'm 86 years old. There's been a whole lot of changes. Good gracious. Changes in the economy, changes in social structure, changes in mores. It's a constant change. My daughters have jobs that didn't even exist when they were born. How do we think we lived without cell phones? It would be nice to think about living without cell phones, but we don't. We just have to have everything right now, have to be connected all the time. And that's too bad. Because I don't take time to sit and be quiet and, just relax. That's difficult for me to do. What I lack is patience and the ability to sit quietly and think about a process of getting things done. Even when I was 10, I recognized inequality. I'm not sure how that happened, how that was, but I think I would tell people to think about inequality and how you can make that go away. I think maybe kindness or thoughtfulness. You never know what you say to someone, how it will be taken. And, years later, something comes back to you and you think, egad, did I say the wrong thing to that person? Or did I say something that was valuable to them? I guess maybe empathetic is another word. Think about how other people feel. I think I know I would like to be remembered as someone who was honest and treated everyone fairly. And I think that's what I'd like. That's 4 generations of females. That's me and Allison and Blythe and Lyra at the cottage. Egad. We didn't even talk about our cottage in Canada.